And we are back. For the past week or so, there's been fagia among the political parties. First it was Jubilee, and today it was NASA. Some members of the party who are seen to be wasi to the party have been shown the door, literally. Let us hear what Junaid Mohammed had to say.
They will not be associated. They are completely isolated. They will not be associating with us as a NASA coalition. Those people who thought that NASA is dead, they can see today NASA is alive. The membership are here. We have agreed to work together to make sure that the agenda of the Kenyan people is achieved in the National Assembly, and also the agenda of the handshake and the BBI is achieved in the National Assembly. Kukosea chama ni hatia, yes, na kufuata makamu wa rais pia ni hatia. Yes. Zote mbili ni hatia. Sasa unafuata Ruto na wewe uko ODM. How?
I was elected without committees, and members of Butere voted for me without committee.
Now that meeting that made the resolution to weed out those who are deemed to be disloyal colleagues was actually attended by a high number of NASA party members. 108 out of 135 walifika. Those who didn't come, walituma apologies, other than the ones who are being kicked out. Gashuri, what happened? Aisha Jumwa is out of the PSC, although it will take a long time for the actual process to happen, being replaced by Mishimboko. Member of Parliament Wamalwa is also out. What is going on, Gashuri, in the party?
It's the season of high politics, and one would have expected that during this COVID-19 situation, there will be less of politics and more focus on the COVID-19. But this is politics for us. This is politics for you. That while we're dealing with COVID on one hand, the political issues are also going on the other hand. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing is a discussion, a separate discussion. But basically what's happening is enforcing the handshake, so to say. Look at what's happening to NASA today, or the changes that were made today, or the proposed de-whipping. It's targeting members of parliament who are deemed to be an ally to the deputy president. That's the loyalty test, so to say, it seems. And Junet is clear there that kukosea chama ni hatia, kufuata naibu rais pia ni hatia. Wow. And it shows you the kind of a situation that we are dealing with. The same thing has happened in Jubilee. The targeted members of parliament, especially in the Senate, and the whip is now heading to the National Assembly, most likely shortly after the budget. Remember, next week and the week after, we'll be dealing with budget in the National Assembly. You can expect the whip to be cracked thereafter, because probably the Jubilee party, the ruling party, and the government would not want to antagonize members of parliament as they deal with the national budget in the coming 2 weeks or so. But thereafter, you can expect the whip will be cracked in the National Assembly. And put it plainly, this is mjeledi. It has become very popular. This is mjeledi on members of parliament who are perceived or have pronounced themselves clearly to be allied to the deputy president and supporting his bid in 2022. Pure and simple.
Yvonne, Mjeledi was down on 5 nominated senators of Jubilee before the disciplinary committee of the party in the past 2 days, and each one was there pledging loyalty to the party. I think before we go on, we may listen to Senator Millicent Omanga saying she did not receive the SMS, the invite for the meeting that she missed at State House.
Like now, I'll tell you on my phone, I have 7,000 messages, and nimejaribu kutafuta ile message kwenye simu yangu, kusema kweli I've not seen that message. So I had no avenue to even send my apology because I had no message. Like me, I'm on postpaid. So if the phone ime run na nimekatiwa, na by the time I pay, then wananirudisha kwa network. So inakuwa, maybe it takes some time, an hour or two. So you are not able to see that. Because nilijaribu hata leo, nimejaribu kutafuta ile message yenye ilitumwa na ama namba gani ilinitumia, kusema kweli mimi sijaona ile message.
Various reasons were given by others. Hakuna stima.
Did you believe that?
Jam, this was painful to watch. You know, it was for a number of reasons. So, number one, these hearings were designed to absolutely humiliate, and embarrass these senators. Millicent Omanga had what I called her Wekataya moment, the Ruben Dolo thing, when she was asked, what the term "bring it on" meant, which we all know. Let's listen to that.
We hear that they want to bring an impeachment motion to impeach the deputy president. I want to tell them, or we want to tell them, bring it on, baby, bring it on.
What did you mean by those words of bring it on?
No, I'm just telling I was defending our party against the perpetrators, the position and perpetrators.
Who are the perpetrators?
No, people who really don't support our party.
Yes.
Yes.
Painful to watch. Here was another one from Victor Prenge. You know, he was asked to list the number of times he has shown loyalty to the party and to the party leader, and not just for him, but for Millicent Amanga as well. They kept asking, "Are you loyal to the party leader?" And they, humbly say, "Yes, I am." And Victor was asked to show his loyalty. He tried to talk his way out of it. He talked about some legislation that he was trying to put together. So that's not what we're talking about. We want you to show instances where you have been loyal. Listen, never would I have imagined, first of all, that internal party disciplinary hearings have live coverage. These would have been, in other settings, in another time, footnotes, even in the paper, that little one column, and in other news there was this. But these things have been designed to humiliate these people, to make them pledge loyalty to President Uhuru Kenyatta, the party leader, and to denounce their loyalty to the deputy party leader, that's William Ruto. In some ways, it was sad to see, but I thought they were particularly harder on Millicent Omanga and on Victor Prenge.
And there's a reason.
There was a point.
Yeah, and there's a reason. They've been
actually,
the most vocal.
and there's a reason.
Yeah.
You see, look, I covered both days. I mean, the five senators who are facing the disciplinary committee sittings. Yeah. Naomi Wako, Falhada Iman, and Mary Seneta.
Yeah, that's what
weren't as bad. Right? And actually, you could see...
At some point, Irungu Kangata was even doing their biddings, like, these ones, I would plead that you should be lenient because they have since shown their loyalty and all of that.
I actually think the committee was harder on Millicent for certain reasons. Because, number one, she's been very vocal in support of the deputy president. So, the way she's been vocal, I think the disciplinary committee was also harder on her to bully her into submission and, toe the line, and that loyalty pledge had to be out there clearly, unequivocally, emphatically. And you could see, especially the line of questioning, like, what did you mean by bring it on? I think that question caught her by surprise, and she had a few problems dealing with it, and it shows you clearly.
Shuri, she had a little bit of a fib because she said she has always abided by all party decisions, but yet on April the 10th she wrote that protest letter over the change of the Jubilee Party National Management Committee officials, and that's a letter that she wrote protesting those changes that were there. But I mean, they were clearly out to, it was like watching someone pin an insect to the wall. It was really difficult.
I think hard is an overstatement. I did not say hard. Hard in party politics means tears. People will cry. And historically we've heard of David Okiki Amayo and the Kano Disciplinary Committee that left Sharif Nasir and Karisa Maitha, literally close to tears. Yeah. Peter Okondo, who was Minister for Labor, was also summoned, and it was easy.
Very, very interesting, actually, because in where I come from, and this is an example that Kai, for obvious reasons, might identify with, but where I come from, people usually loan cows to other people, so there's a saying where I come from that if you have a loaned cow like that you got from your neighbor, they can pick it anytime. So when you're milking the cow, you usually look at the gate just to be sure that the owner is not coming. That is the case, I think, with nominated members of parliament, because you are there really at the pleasure of the party. You cannot thump your chest the way that elected ones would and say, you know what, I was elected by my people. I had someone there say, it is the constituents who brought me here. I wasn't brought by the party. You can say that if you were elected.
Mwale was saying
but
that
if the people elect you, you have a firmer ground to stand on. But if you are elected, if you are nominated to parliament, you must show absolute in the context of our politics. And I think this happens everywhere where the party structures work, that you have to show absolute loyalty to the party. And in our context, to the party usually would also be read to mean the party leader. And I think that is what the party leader of Jubilee has been trying to do this week. That this has been going on for too long, so he wanted to stamp his authority on the party. And what better way to do it than to show that example ili iwe funzo, you know, with the nominated members, because you can almost do whatever you want with them, because if they don't toe the line, you can literally just replace them with other people, and who wants that to happen to them?
And I think, Joe, what is interesting is that today, Senator Millicent Omanga has put down her name as a candidate to replace Senator Kithure Kindiki as the Deputy Speaker of the House of the Senate. She's among the senators who put their name down. So, of course, there'll be a vote. And it's interesting that she wants to become the Deputy Speaker of the Senate. But you speak about the party. One of them was asked, and I'm really trying to remember which of the senators who was before the parliamentary committee, before the Jubilee Disciplinary Committee, and was asked to name the party's manifesto. And they couldn't say what it was. They were not even sure what the party manifesto is. And it makes me question what the party stands for, really. Because if you look at other democracies and other countries across the world, the party is the party. They are formed, I think it's the Democratic Party, which was formed in 18-something, and the Republican Party, I think, is 160-something years old. And even in the UK, the Liberal Party, the Labour Party and the Conservatives, ideologies are known, what they stand for are known, and their members of those parties know what those parties mean, what they stand for, and I think they can tell you very clearly what the parties are. And I think here in Kenya, and I've said this before, we form parties as vehicles for election, and once that's over, before the next one, another one will be formed, and we move on swiftly. So this is just for now, for political survival. Una pledge loyalty to the party and will survive, usifukuzwe. But I don't think most of them actually believe in what the party stands for. I don't think they believe in the manifesto and the values of the party. That's just me. But I think now, Gashuri, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but this is just for survival. Usifukuzwe kutoka kwa chama upoteze kiti.
You see what will happen largely. Ask, if you probe them, especially the senators who are before the disciplinary committee, do they really believe what they told the disciplinary committee?
No.
I doubt they do.
No.
This is purely for survival, and there are certain reasons why they would do that. I mean, you are mid your term, your 5-year tenure in parliament. You have already incurred certain, you have already entered into certain financial contracts. You have a car loan, you have a mortgage to deal with, you have other financial engagements. So being kicked out of parliament at this point in time is costly, to say. And even if you don't lose that seat per se, the amount of legal struggle that you have to go through, and it comes with cost implications, is very expensive. It's dire. It will strain you financially. And so most of them will do this purely for survival. Nisawa to Nicoloyo. And for nominated senators, they are easy to deal with. They are easy to harass. You see, an elected member of parliament can say, okay, take away the committees. Recall me if you can. Even though they know, if you're to recall them, you will still have to struggle to go back to the electorate. Most of them, of course, not sure whether they will make it back, especially in some certain constituencies. But it is a longer process to deal with. But for nominated senators, you are at the mercy of the party.
Absolutely, which is why, Francis, I'm looking forward to what will happen at the National Assembly, because many of those who are targeted are elected members of Parliament, and like you said, they will wait for the budget. There are some people there. I mean, if you were to take a look at Moses Kuri as part of the budget committee. Kimani Chungwa is the head of the budget,
chair of the budget committee
and appropriations committee. So they could choose to do some serious damage to many of the proposals that have been put in the budget in the event that this purge begins there. And that is where the battle will be, because these are people who have a constituency. The other thing that I've noticed about this battle, because we all know party loyalty, party discipline is perhaps not what is at the heart of it, but just how vicious this has become, even outside of the Senate and outside of the National Assembly. I mean, what we saw with the relief food. I mean, even take a look at the fake news that is going around in the country at the moment. Every day you wake up to a hashtag, how Ruto betrayed Uhuru, Ruto must go, Uhuru must go. Some that are going, you know, even touching family. I mean, it seems to me that in this battle, there will be no sacred lines. I mean, take a look at the fake headlines of the Star and the Standard that have been going around.
Even the Nation today.
Even the Nation today. The fake order paper with, you know, the alleged impeachment of the deputy president. There are just... There's so much disinformation, misinformation that is going around that, you know, we all have to be really circumspect in this time, and it just shows you how vicious this is going to become.
No, before we go to Linus, Joe, something that Senator James Orengo said last week during the sitting to vote out former Deputy Speaker Kithure Kindiki. He said, in the next 2 months, we'll have important matters to discuss in this House. I think that's why they are cleaning house. And of course, the important matters are going to be discussed at the referendum. And they want the favorable response that they're expecting when this matter comes before the House. And that's one of the reasons why they're clearing wanaondoa wale ambao wataleta tashwishi yoyote.
Yes, something fundamental that Jamila is raising. You see, I dare say this, the BBI reggae has not stopped.
Nope.
Only that the music has been reduced, you know, the volume has been reduced. It's actually playing in the background. As we deal with COVID-19, behind the scenes, you can hear some reggae tunes, you know. In radio, they say, imefediwa, it's faded. So in the event that the report is ready and it needs a parliamentary approach, to amend the Constitution, you need at least two-thirds majority in the National Assembly and in the Senate. So 233 members in the National Assembly, and this loyalty test, the loyalty pledges that you see, I dare say are in line with that, preparing the House in the event of certain changes in the Constitution being driven that route, both in the National Assembly and in the Senate. If you have 240 members or thereabout, you're already assured of a two-thirds majority in the National Assembly. If you have about 45 senators, you're already assured of a two-thirds majority in the Senate. And I think the first test was the removal of the Senate Deputy Speaker, Professor Kindiki. Last Friday, you saw the amount of whipping both ends. Yeah. And 54 senators voting to kick him out.
Imagine.
Even after quite a number of them said very nice things about him and so on and so forth, but eventually they say, lakini, you know, there was always that rider, lakini. So it shows you that it's more to do with other reasons other than what is being fronted.
Yes.
It's more about other reasons, other things that are coming up beyond the question of party discipline, Linus. Or what do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation if you think about it, because look, I mean, every political party that is in power has certain things that it hopes to achieve, and usually Parliament is an important place in trying to push what they call the legislative agenda. Of course, at the moment, everybody knows that there is a certain agenda that has been driven very hard, even before COVID-19. The reggae, as we called it, was going on, and as you were saying, it went. It's been playing in the background of the COVID noise out here that we hear. And I think that the politicians came to the realization that most of us are coming to, that this COVID-19 thing is going to be here for a long time. So they don't want to wait for it to end, because they don't know when that's going to be, and they have political business to transact. Obviously, a lot of times that business might not be in your and my interest, but it is political business all the same. And I think that what has happened is that the president and the former prime minister, in the handshake team have decided that there are certain things, the BBI thing is coming up, and they want a house that is going to do their bidding. I mean, that is how politics has been played in this country, and I think that is something that we are going to see more of. Obviously, one would hope that this conversation can have us at the center of it. We now know in this country sometimes that is expecting too much, but obviously what's happening and the speed with which it is happening, the viciousness around it, suggests that there is something big that they have up their sleeves, and most likely we are not that big thing they're trying to do.
Yes, John, I do agree. I think what has been exposed this past week is the weakness of our so-called party system. It is a party system by name. It's not really a party system in practice. Because what is the trigger to the events that we have seen in the past 1 week? The trigger is the fight between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto. The trigger is the contest that has gone on for the last 2 years between supporters of the handshake and opposers of the same, meaning supporters of Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta team versus those of the deputy president. These are not political party activities. This is presidential politics, but on another level. What else was exposed this week was the shallowness of the membership of parties. Because, first of all, we are seeing some of those senators for the first time. Who heard of Victor Prengay?
I tell you.
Before the disciplinary committee?
Even the three the week before.
Yeah.
Who are they?
And Millie Omanga made her first sentence that is longer than "bring it on, baby," only during the disciplinary hearing. That is the shallowness of the party system that we have. Because when you look at past party systems elsewhere, and I've observed two party systems that I've really admired. One is the African National Congress of South Africa, and the other one is the Chama cha Mapinduzi, CCM of Tanzania, which is a very thorough party system, where when you find somebody calling themselves a whip of the party or a secretary general of a party, you look at the trail, the journey that they have walked, and you will be impressed. They have earned the place.
Okay, even
now you
Ghana.
Look at some of this. Sorry.
Even Ghana has, with the two parties.
Ghana, and yet Ghana is even a more recent democracy than us. Because they only started doing these things in 2000. Now they have an established two-party system.
The one for Jerry Rawlings and Kufuor.
NPP and NDC. Very, very well established. Look at us for the last 4 elections.
And the elections are usually very narrow. And,
and they switch between... There's a handover of parties.
In a constituency that was not Tharaka-Nithi, somewhere up in the north, and both parties accepted it was a very, very closely contested election. We are living a charade when it comes to this issue of political parties. Now, for these young guys, including Millie Omanga and Prengay, who spoke for the first time in a disciplinary committee, if they are looking for democracy, because what will happen in the disciplinary committee will happen. And they have absolutely, and they're saying they don't have mercy. But if the membership wants to demand democracy, then demand democracy at the right places. Not at the end of the process, but at the beginning of it. These parties, whether it's ODM, Jubilee, Wiper, you name it, none of them have held elections. The party lists that they use to pick the likes of Omanga to parliament are basically personal preferences lists. They have nothing to do with the ideology of the party, the hard work that they put into making Jubilee. Look at the conversation going on in online right now. It's about loyalty to people, not to ideals. And some, are talking about loyalty to President Kenyatta, loyalty to deputy president. Now, in party systems, you don't distribute loyalty that way. Loyalty belongs to the party and the leader of that party. When you don't have confidence in the leader, replace them. That's how party systems work. We would want to see even the kind of robust party activity that KANU, I know a lot of people criticize KANU, but KANU got close to what party activity should be. A number of their decisions were made in Kasarani.
Yeah.
There is a national delegates conference of elected, by the way, of elected representatives. They used to pick leaders down to the village. We don't have that now. You can actually hold an NDC made entirely of people from one location in Nairobi, which is a tragedy. So if the people appearing at disciplinary committees are crying democracy, then no, they are making it very, very late in the day. They needed to have cried about democracy when it came to things like living to the spirit of the Constitution, Article 91, which is parties should have boards or should be run by bodies that are democratically elected.
It's also a question, Linus, of control of party organs. For example, look at Jubilee. It started with a contest over the membership to the National Management Committee, the committee that deals with the day-to-day running of the party. Then the control for NEC, then control for Parliament, the two chambers of Parliament, via the parliamentary group. Next week, there's a National Assembly parliamentary group meeting. And probably if it happens, a few things could happen. There's also a likelihood of a NEC meeting, National Executive Committee.
Yeah, I've been asking for it since 2017.
Yep. Yeah. That NEC meeting, if it happens, don't be surprised if a few changes are made, whether willingly or not. I think it's basically to try and crack the whip and demand that loyalty, as Linus puts it, but loyalty to what and why? And is it a realization maybe too late in the day that the party organs had been taken over by the deputy president? Now it's time to return the organs to the party leader, and so on and so forth. So we will see quite a number of things happening, and the brutality with which the discipline is being enforced, I think is likely to continue. You have seen it happening in the NASA team today. For example, Chris Omalwa, the former, do I call him former deputy?
The next former.
Minority whip in the National Assembly. I've seen his text, that statement claiming that he's being punished for going to church Harambes as the chairperson of the Catholic Parliamentarians Association. That is his only relationship with the deputy president. And on the other hand, look at Aisha Jumwa. The next contest will be whether the party ODM can kick her out of the Parliamentary Service Commission, yeah, which is a fairly lucrative position. You will hear questions about whether it will have to follow the procedures of Article 251 of the Constitution on removal of a commissioner from an independent body and constitutional commission, or whether the party can actually propose a motion, bring it to the House and kick her out of the commission. Quite a number of things are likely to happen. The dramatic way that you saw the Senate Deputy Speaker being removed is also likely to be the same dramatic process that you're going to see on the question of removal of Aisha Jumwa. Remember, there was an attempt to remove her some times back. She was defended by Jubilee Party then because it had the numbers in the House. Now, with the handshake in place, very many things are likely to happen. And actually, the environment in Parliament is now changed. Don't be surprised if a motion is brought to the National Assembly, it is debated, and a simple majority carries the day and she is substituted by Mishimboko.
I think the bottom line is there is need for discipline on our political landscape.
Yeah.
Whether the parties are properly constituted or not, they at least need to be disciplined, because some of them end up with the great responsibility of running the country. And it's a tragedy when you have an indisciplined outfit running the country. Let's face it, the conduct of affairs within Jubilee in the last few years has been tragic, because, and you saw President Kenyatta talking about his agenda in some interview yesterday, and saying that if you don't like what I'm doing, then you can move so that somebody else who supports my agenda can come in. This is indiscipline. Even the early 2022 campaigns by a deputy party leader, where there is a serving party leader, there is a sitting president, is actually a case of indiscipline. And let's face it, in 1978, when Moi took over from Jomo Kenyatta, the critics of Moi at the time said, Negato karaitoka. In Latin, that means it's a passing cloud.
Yes.
He is a passing cloud. There is a section of supporters of the deputy president who've actually been treating Uhuru Kenyatta as a passing cloud. You know, forget about the period between 2013 and 2022, because he'll serve that ours is 2022. You know, look beyond. And you saw the ousted deputy speaker. He wasn't exactly as innocent as he tried to plead in his exit speech. He was among those who said, no, no, no. If we live on earth and we are preparing to go to heaven, then why can't we prepare for an election whose date we know? That, to me, is indiscipline, because what does a conversation like that do to the sitting president and his agenda? If this is the conduct of party affairs or the position of president and deputy president going forward, what we'll be having is every time we form a government, it'll be a two-in-one government whereby there is a sitting president and a sitting opposition leader holding probably the position of deputy president.
Or a sitting waiting deputy, or a sitting waiting president.
Yes. So what the deputy will do is, let's while away the 10 years of this one as we wait for mine. It's a very, very bad philosophy. And I think for Jubilee, President Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto, they really owe Kenyans an apology for how they have conducted this whole thing of 10 yangu na 10 yako. Because in the process, they have forgotten that the presidency is not a party position. They are not fighting as party leaders. They are fighting as occupants of a national office called the president and the deputy president. It's shameful. And then they have reduced it to a party thing. And the whole idea of promising each other 10, 10. You can do that with a party position, but not a national position, where the Mamamboga must have a say on who the next president should be. Where do they come in when you say it's mine 10 and yours 10? It's not a hereditary system. Shameful, I think.
All right, as you talk about shameful hereditary promises kept or not, it's time to take this home. And today we have to start with Yvonne's take.